Hi, my name's Craig Elliott and I'm manager of the Apple User Group Connection. We'd like to take a few minutes to thank those of you who responded to our video survey and let you know what some of our plans are based on the survey results. We spend a lot of time, effort, and money producing the user group video each quarter, and your comments help us make it the best possible resource for your user group. We found that there were a number of common comments from our survey respondents. First of all, most people seem to find the videos useful, something we're always happy to hear. Of the 245 user group leaders that responded to the video survey, the majority said that over half of their user group members see the video. Quite a few of the leaders, 171 to be exact, show portions of the video in their user group meetings, and 175 of the leaders said that they loan out the video to their members through a loaner program. Here's how we produce these videos. We talk to many departments throughout Apple to learn about video segments that they have produced. We then review the videos and determine which segments would be most appropriate for the connection video. Sometimes this can be diff force, new customers, and Apple employees. Our job is to find the videos that best fit the type of information you've asked for. Here at the User Group Connection, we independently produce only a few of the segments, such as John Scully's address to the User Group Advisory Council and the User Group breakfast events at Macworld trade shows. Oftentimes, we'll include things that are not perfectly suited to user groups, but we'd rather give you too much information and let you decide. In upcoming videos, we'll do our best to focus more on the subjects you requested in the survey. We'll include more product information, training segments, and segments on what other user groups are doing. However, we're generally limited to the video segments that have already been produced internally at Apple. Otherwise, the cost of producing the user group video would be prohibitively high. We would also like to include more information on the Apple II product line. However, again, we're limited to the video segments that are produced internally. When Apple II videos are produced within Apple, we'll be sure to include them in our upcoming videos. From the survey, we also received a number of great ideas on how some user groups are effectively using the videos to reach a maximum number of their members. One group, the Buckeye Macintosh user group of Columbus, Ohio, places the connection videos and materials in the local public library. By leveraging the library's existing checkout system, user group members have better access to the materials, and at the same time, the library has built a computer resource center. Some of you indicated difficulty in obtaining video projection equipment. As usual, a user group has come up with an innovative way to get around this problem. The Northern Nevada Apple II and Macintosh user group holds their meeting at a local pizza parlor and uses the parlor's big screen TV to show connection videos. Another point that was brought up in the survey is that you'd like a listing of video segments available electronically. By the time you see this video, there will be an index of video segments posted on AppleLink and America Online in the user group areas. You can also read about upcoming videos in the cover letter of the monthly user group mailing. We hope you find these videos useful in learning about Apple the company as well as the products we produce. If you have additional suggestions for us, please send us a line. Your comments are always welcome. You can contact the Apple User Group Connection in a number of different ways. You can reach us by conventional mail simply by addressing your correspondence to Apple User Group Connection, Apple Computer, 20525 Mariani Avenue, Mail Stop 36AA, Cupertino, California, 95014. Or you can reach us via electronic mail. Our AppleLink address is user.groups, and our America Online address is Apple UGC. From all of us here at the User Group Connection, we'd like to thank you for your interest and support over the years. We hope you find our upcoming videos useful, and we certainly look forward to hearing from you soon.
I think System 7 empowers me to do my best. It's an extension of myself, and I see my work organized in ways I didn't see it before. I can do more and I can do better.
It combines a lot of the functions that you used to have to go out and get third-party software for, and speeds it all up and makes it a whole lot easier.
I think TrueType is just amazing.
Anytime that you can get personal interaction, student to student or student to Macintosh in this case, I think it only enhances the quality of learning that takes place.
People just sat around the machines absolutely ecstatic. I heard people laughing out loud at the things they were able to do. In fact, some of the things they were able to do before, but they didn't even realize it. When they got their hands on System 7, though, The interface was so simple that then they realized the power that they had in their hands. And they began talking about the kinds of things they want to do with kids and the kinds of things they want to do with teachers. The Scottsdale School District is a unified school district consisting of 23 schools, 15 elementary, 4 middle, and 4 high schools, servicing approximately 20,000 students in the suburban Phoenix area. We have about 2,500 Apple II products and about 400 Macintoshes in our district.
We have a couple of schools on Apple Global where students are actually communicating with students in different parts of the world. That, I think, is the future.
We were using Apple II products for a number of years in the district, and as we decided to go to another machine, it seemed natural to go to the Macintosh. The transition would be very, very easy. The learning curve is very, very fast. The transparency of the interface made it a very, very easy machine to train people on.
The exchange of information is critical in our business. Our governing board has Macintoshes in their home. We're connected from my office and from the Education Center with the governing board members, with all administrators in the schools. The thing that makes Macintosh exciting for us is that it's easy to use. Even a superintendent can learn to use Macintosh.
Because we can put System 6 and System 7 in the same network configuration, it allows us to have both systems operating at the same time. It allows us to share files off of System 7 machines that System 6 machines can pull up. It allows us to invest our funds over a period of time instead of making one big implementation at the same time. Louanne Chavez came to work with me about 3 years ago. At that time, she had no Macintosh experience whatsoever. We sent her to a couple of classes at Apple, but most of what she's learned on the job. We've had servers in all of our schools and out here in the Education Center for a number of years. We've had the capability of sharing files. However, few people do it. I'd either have to set up the groups for them, or set up the users for them, or set up the files for them. 4 hours after our secretaries out here were trained on System 7, they were already sharing files. So I think it empowers the user to do that kind of file sharing that's important to do, and that we never took advantage of before. This time of year, we're always concerned with projections in terms of budgets, number of teachers for next year. The superintendent and his staff have those projections on his computer. He can publish his spreadsheet, and Louanne can subscribe to it. Once we have it, we have the ability then to keep up-to-date information on the number of teachers that are projected for next year, and thus we can project our expenditures for computers and software. Anytime he makes a change, we have that change right on her machine, and we can be up to date constantly. Having the right information at the right time ensures that we're not going to be planning based on old information. We're planning based on current information. It's a tremendous advantage. Judy Varan is the Media Center Specialist at Chaparral High School. As they designed this new Media Center, Judy insisted on having a Macintosh lab right in the Media Center. She has a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. During the training that we had 2 weeks ago on System 7, I heard her absolutely squeal in delight at some of the things that she saw in the system. Of course, she interrupted the rest of the people who were being trained, but that's Judy.
One of the things that teachers have for years wanted to be able to do is to be able to collaborate. Not only teachers collaborating, but students collaborating, and students being able to work together on projects. And I think that's going to be a major revolution.
An immediate use of System 7 that I see is in journalism, where students will be doing their writing and then publishing their documents to another computer, and that computer will then subscribe to those documents and place them into their desktop publishing software. The power of System 7, again, lets students make revisions, and those revisions will automatically be updated into the finished product.
Balloon Help will help students to teach themselves, and that's what a lot of students want to do. As a teacher, I really like that. I like the ability of people to feel more in control of knowing where their files are and being able to find them. I like the ability of people to be able to say, oh, I've forgotten what that does, but be able to get a little balloon window that will tell them. TrueType is going to be a big help because it allows the product to look so much better. The crisper font And again, on the screen for presentations, attributes are far more obvious there even than in the printing.
I won't have to print everything out over and over again, checking it. I can see it on the screen and do it as is.
As I walk around the district and talk to teachers and talk to students about what they see happening, invariably they talk about the Macintosh. Teachers have told me that once students get their hands on a Macintosh, they don't want to go back to anything else.
I think the Macintosh helps the student become personally involved with learning. It makes learning a more personal experience for them.
The more Macintoshes we can put in the hands of our students, the better our students will be.
System 7 is the new system software for the Macintosh. But why should an organization upgrade its users to System 7? And how should you manage that transition? I'm Chris Espinosa. I'm the marketing manager for system software in Apple USA, and I'm here to give you some reasons to upgrade to System 7, show you some tools to help you manage that transition, and give you guidelines on how to upgrade a group of users. There are two basic reasons to upgrade to System 7. One is that you can make every Macintosh in your organization more powerful and easier to use. And second, you'll be able to use the great new applications that require System 7. And you don't give up much because System 7 is compatible with the Macintosh computers, the networks, the applications, and the documents that you use today. Now, there are 6 basic steps to upgrading your organization. First, you plan the upgrade and decide who gets upgraded when. Second, you prepare the network environment and make sure all the Macintoshes you want to upgrade have 2 megabytes and a hard disk. Third is you ensure network-wide compatibility by upgrading everybody's LaserWriter drivers. Fourth is you create an upgrade station and install the System 7 software on that station. Users then upgrade from that station. Fifth, you monitor the status of the group upgrade and watch the users upgrade one by one. And sixth, you provide ongoing assistance to users as they upgrade and learn about System 7. We're providing you plenty of tools to help you, and I want to show you a couple of them. The first is the Compatibility Checker, which you use to check the compatibility of an individual Macintosh. It's a Hypercard stack that comes on a floppy disk with every personal upgrade kit and group upgrade kit. What it does is it scans your hard disk and looks at your applications, fonts, utilities, and extensions and checks them against an internal compatibility database. The data in this database was reported to us by the software developers, and it's the complete version number information and compatibility with System 7 that was valid as of the time that we created the personal upgrade kit. The Compatibility Checker scans through your disk and compares each file it finds to the internal database, creating a final report. It also checks all of the system items to make sure that your Apple system software is compatible too. It gives you a personalized compatibility report that tells you some details of your system, for example, how many system files you have and where they are. It lists the applications and utilities it found that are incompatible and tells you their application vendors and their phone number. It lists the compatible applications it found so you can use them with confidence, and you can print this report to easily use it to upgrade your system and your applications. This is a great tool for individual users to use to check the compatibility of their system before upgrading to System 7. Now, for Macintoshes on the network, you can use the network installer to upgrade each Macintosh. What you do is you set up an upgrade station with the System 7 software on it. Each user connects to the upgrade station using the chooser. They find the installer, double-click the installer, and it starts up the installer over the network. When they click the install button, the system software will be installed over the network onto their Macintosh. Now, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to do an upgrade over a LocalTalk network, and it only installs the system software, but the group upgrade kit includes upgrades to other Apple software like the CD-ROM drivers. Once the installation is finished, you click the Restart button and you're up and running System 7. When you install System 7, you get a lot of powerful new capabilities for your Macintosh, not just in the system, but in your current applications as well. One of those is TrueType outline fonts. You can think of TrueType as a jaggy eliminator that makes all fonts look smooth on your screen and on your printer, whatever size you use. Now, one of the advantages of TrueType is that not only does it work with all your existing applications, but new applications can take advantage of its powers with new user interfaces. For example, in this application, I can select a piece of text and I can make it any size I want by choosing the size from the text menu. And the text looks good in all sizes I choose. But this application also has a new user interface feature where if I want to make the text fit the box, I don't have to do trial and error of different type sizes. I simply drag the text out until it's the size I want it to be, and it picks the type size for me. So with TrueType, not only do you get smooth type in all your current applications, but new applications also make it easier to work with type. And that's the real importance of TrueType. When using System 7 and its powerful new capabilities, you might want some help in finding your way around. Luckily, help is built into System 7 and new System 7 applications with Balloon Help. To turn Balloon Help on, you go to the new Help menu and choose Show Balloons. Now, anything you point to will bring up a help balloon that tells you what that icon, scroll bar, window, or document is. So I can browse through this new version of Excel and see what the new tools in the toolbar are. When I turn help balloons off, the help balloons go away. Now this works throughout the system, not just in new applications. For example, I can bring up the control panels turn on the help balloons, and I can see one by one what each new control panel is. Help is not a mode. It doesn't restrict me from using the computer. So I can open up a control panel, see what the parts of it are, and actually use the system while I'm learning, and learn the system while I'm using it. With System 7, Macintosh users can automatically share information over the network using two new features, Publish and Subscribe, and File Sharing. For example, I'll take this chart I've created in Excel. I'll select it, but instead of copying it to the clipboard, I'll go to the Edit menu. I choose Create Publisher from the Edit menu. I type a name for the chart, and select a shared folder on my hard disk, a folder other people have access to. When I publish it to that folder, my colleagues on the network now have access to the information there, and from their computers and other applications, for example, word processors, they can go to their Edit menu, choose Subscribe to, connect to my computer, type their own passwords, find the chart, and incorporate it into their documents. So it's like network copy and paste. But it's more than that because a live link is maintained between her machine and my machine. When I go back to my machine and make a change in my information, and I save those changes, the chart in her document is automatically updated over the network. So it's live sharing of information over the network between Macintosh users. Some of the best of System 7 happens when you use two features together, I'm going to show you two new features, file sharing and the alias mechanism, that together give you the very powerful ability to carry your office with you wherever you go. Right now, my computer in my office is using file sharing. That means other people in my office can connect to it and share files with me even when I'm not there. But it also means that I can get back to my computer from any other computer on the network. And I do it using the chooser, the same way I get at a file server or another shared device. I select Apple Share in the chooser, and I find my zone where my computer is located. And there I see my computer along with all of the other file servers in the building. I select my computer, type my password, and I can place the hard disk from my computer on the desktop of this one. When I open it up, I can see all of the files, folders, documents, my appointment calendar, utility programs that I need with me wherever I go. Now that's nice, but I don't want to have to remember all of that chooser and zones and servers bit. So the Macintosh can remember that for me with a mechanism called aliases. I can select this hard disk and choose Make Alias from the File menu. And I get another icon that looks just like the original, but it's not a copy of it. It's a pointer to it. It remembers where the original is. And I can use the alias just like I use the original. I can even put the alias on a floppy disk. So if I travel around to other Apple locations, such as to our facility in Charlotte, North Carolina, I can get one-click access to the files in my office. Say I'm in North Carolina and want to get a memo on the computer back in my office. I put the floppy disk in any System 7 machine I find there on the network. I double-click the alias. I type my password. And my entire office comes up on my screen. So with the combination of file sharing and the alias mechanism, I get one-click access to all of my files back in my office.
You'll be able to do is generate your data.
Bill, tell me about System 7.
What do you want to know?
All I do basically is word processing and use a spreadsheet. Why would I want to upgrade to System 7?
If you have someone working on a chart, you want to pull that in. If you have someone working in number crunching, you want to pull the results of that in. You can put it all into one report.
Our students are isolated. Is there any way we can bring the data together?
Inter-application communication. It's a way that programs can now talk to each other.
What kind of problems are we going to have installing System 7 in our clusters?
One of the things we can now do with System 7 is connect it to a network and have it serve off of either a System 7 machine or a CD-ROM disk and actually do network installs.
And can I go to the classroom machine and then be able to access like my machine in my office on the network?
Every machine that's connected to a network can act as its own individual file sharing machine.
Will System 7 be compatible with the applications that I have on my machine now?
I think we'll be able to use it pretty seamlessly.
For Drexel developed software, is it going to be easy to implement System 7 features?
They've gone to great lengths to make sure that the two are compatible.
Can I put Balloon Help in some of the stuff that we've done, or is that only on the big?
We've already done it.
Bill, I'm concerned about training. How are we going to get all our new users up to speed with systems?
Installation's never been easier for system software. There's an installer. As you click on the installer, it's a one-button install. The first thing you may notice is the little help balloons. As you choose to make an alias, it creates a very small file, which is simply a pointer. When you publish and subscribe, every time you publish, it puts it in the same location. So managing that aspect of it is very easy. Every time they bring up Apple File Share, they can update that edition and get the latest information. So you have more flexibility in what you're going to draw on to create your documents. Every feature that's on here can be used when you're ready to evolve to that level of power and sophistication. So it's not a big deal to have to learn. There's no impediment in your way to using System 7 today.
the unattached. This is the one.
Did you take your...
Did you like the...
So, was it as good as we promised?
Absolutely. You know, just like you said, one button.
I wanted to say that I thought you guys got it up and running very quickly, and because our students were able to come in and get their files off the server and so on.
We had 5 labs upgraded within 2 hours. And after that, all the students that came in were running under System 7.
After you got it installed, what kind of things?
Well, aside from getting it running in the labs, we've been using it a lot internally.
You got that budget out last week. You said you'd never done it faster.
Well, you know, Chris and I have to work on a lot of reports together, and we used to swap disks back and forth and put copies of things in folders. And now it's terrific because we can work on the same document, make changes, using the publish and subscribe, and it makes it a lot easier, a lot more seamless, and the quality of the work is better.
It allowed us to be concentrating on what we were teaching in the classroom and not worrying about teaching Mac operating system or how to work the application. As we use inter-application communication to bring these files together, we're automatically doing our data, we're automatically plotting graphs. Students can see what's going on right as it's happening. Now, your data window then comes up. What we want to do is we want to collect class data so we can analyze it later. And so we want you to publish that data. We'll put it up here in the spreadsheet on Morell's machine. And then we'll be able to distribute that spreadsheet file for you so that you can do your class assignment as it's set out in the lab manual. And then their data comes published back into the central folder. We subscribe to it from the spreadsheet and automatically plot all our graphs and data. What I like is the cooperation now that's created between students. It used to be that things were isolated from one student to the next. Now, in fact, they can very easily get their data together and work together, work with each other to exchange information, solve their problems.
Have you noticed any compatibility problems?
No, MacWrite is working fine, and FileMaker, Excel, all my programs are working well. Telecommunications package is working fine. I haven't run into any problems at all. I'm really enjoying it.
I hate to say I told you so.
Well, yeah, you did. Yeah, you said it would be easy, and it was. In fact, I think...
Apple's competitors have spent lots of time over the past few years deciding how a personal computer should look. Now, after years of engineering, it looks like they've reached a conclusion. They've decided it should look like a Macintosh. A lot of people in the press say that spells doom for Apple, but generally these are the same people who predict the doom of Apple every year. The only thing that changes is the competitor. Not too long ago, it was Next. Before that, OS 2. But even though our competitors may imitate the way Macintosh looks, they can't come close to the way it works. Today, we'll compare Microsoft Windows version 3 running on an IBM PS2 Model 70 with a Macintosh 2 CI to demonstrate that Macintosh really is the best personal computer, because it's the only personal computer with a unified architecture. And Apple is the only computer company that designs and builds all the fundamental parts of its system. As we'll see, that gives Macintosh big advantages in 4 key areas: ease of use, applications, networking, and future growth path. And these are advantages that Windows can't match, because where all the parts of the Macintosh, network, peripherals, hardware, operating system, and interface fit together as a unified whole, Windows has been added on top of DOS, which was never designed to support it in the first place. Once that point is clear, it's easy to look past the surface of Windows and see how deep the advantages of Macintosh really are. Of all the advantages that Macintosh offers, the one people know the best is ease of use. That's what Windows is supposed to bring to the DOS-based world. But real ease of use can't be bolted on to an old-style PC. It has to be built in from the chips up, the way it's been built into the Macintosh from the very beginning, and the way every Macintosh user experiences it from the moment they open the Macintosh box. When it comes to setting up a Macintosh, for instance, all the user has to do is plug in a few cables. The software is already installed on the hard disk, so all the user does is plug in the power cord, hook up the monitor, attach the keyboard and mouse, hit the on button, and they're welcome to a happy Macintosh that's ready to run. But with the PC, plugging in the components is just the beginning, because users also have to format the hard disk and install the system software, Pretty complex task for somebody who's new to computers. After that, DOS will need to know what kind of components are hooked up to the system, something the Macintosh understands automatically. Then it's time to set up Windows. In the time it takes to complete these procedures and get one PS2 up and running, many Macintosh systems could be unpacked and configured. Or, people who haven't worked with computers before could use the tour that comes with every Macintosh to learn the fundamentals of computing. That kind of tutorial is something that doesn't come with DOS or with Windows. Or they could use Balloon Help, a system-wide help function that lets users simply point at objects on the screen to learn what they are. With Balloon Help, a beginner can learn the basics of Macintosh in a matter of minutes, while more experienced users can turn on Balloon Help to refresh their skills in actual applications. And it's as easy to expand a Macintosh system as it is to set it up in the first place. With the SCSI connector, a standard feature on every Macintosh sold today, we can connect peripherals like a hard disk, a CD-ROM drive, a scanner, in seconds, just by plugging them in. And we can have all of these devices hooked up to the Macintosh without using up any of its expansion slots. So we can add a second monitor, or even a third, and work with all of them at the same time. Now, let's see what it takes to configure our IBM system with the same kind of peripherals. Since the Model 70 doesn't offer SCSI as a standard feature, we'll have to install individual interface cards for each peripheral, using up every one of our expansion slots. And since the operating system can't recognize hardware without our help, we'll have to run installation programs to configure the devices properly. We can't add any extra monitors to the IBM PC because we've used up all the slots. But even if we had the room, the extra monitors wouldn't do us any good because standard IBM PCs don't support more than one monitor at a time. We've seen that Macintosh has big advantages because of the way the hardware and software work together. What if we ignore the hardware and just look at what the software can do? Some people say Windows matches the software features of Macintosh, but it just ain't so. Consider the Macintosh Finder, for instance. In this one environment, you can move, delete, and copy data files. Install and launch applications. We can even enhance our system by adding new capabilities like fonts and sounds, and all in the same intuitive way. That's the ease of use that made the Macintosh famous. It lets users do more with their computers without forcing them to learn more about their computers. And while Windows tries to duplicate that simplicity, it consistently falls short because DOS keeps getting in the way. The first thing to notice about Windows is that it has created two different panes, excuse the pun, Program Manager and File Manager. This combination of two applications looks like Macintosh, and it's supposed to approximate the environment found on the Macintosh desktop. Program Manager is used to launch application programs and data files, and File Manager is used to move, copy, and delete files on the hard disk. But unfortunately, File Manager and Program Manager are both built on top of DOS, and they don't talk to each other. If we make a change in one, the other program may not notice. For instance, suppose we want to move our word processor from the directory called Windows in File Manager into the directory called WordP to organize our directory tree. Moving the application files is easy enough. But then, when we go into Program Manager and double-click on the icon to launch the application, Windows gives us an error message. That's because Program Manager doesn't keep track of changes we made in File Manager. So when we click on the icon in Program Manager, it looks for the program in its old location. If this sounds confusing, imagine what it's like for a computer novice. To correct the problem, we have to use the Properties menu in Program Manager and type in the new DOS path name for the program. A simple change that would have been handled automatically on Macintosh throws Windows users back into DOS. In fact, Windows has to work with many of the traditional DOS limitations because it's built on top of DOS. So, where Macintosh gives us the freedom to call our files and folders whatever we like, Windows can only accept DOS file names with 8 characters or less, which forces you to create your own version of computer code. Where the Macintosh can respond when we make a physical change to the system, like inserting a diskette, Windows isn't so closely connected to the hardware. So when we put a diskette into the IBM PC, it doesn't notice until we tell the machine that the diskette is there. What's more, when we remove our first diskette, insert a new one, and try to look for a file, Windows displays the old diskette's directory on the screen. This forces us to use a new command, refresh Windows, just to look at the files that are actually in the drive. Macintosh does all of this automatically. When we're trying to tell the difference between Macintosh and Windows, it helps to look at a few applications to see what a world of difference there is. Because not only does Macintosh offer more applications than all other graphical environments combined, including Windows, Presentation Manager, New Wave, OSF Motif, Sun OpenLook, and Next, it also provides consistency across all those applications. So once users learn their first Macintosh application, they'll be well on their way to learning them all. This is the vision of computing that made the first Macintosh so revolutionary, and it still sets Macintosh apart today. Because from the beginning, Apple has understood that people want to use new computing tools without having to learn new computing rules. That's why we built a single consistent set of user interface tools into every Macintosh ever made, and developed stable, consistent interface guidelines so developers could create applications that all work the same familiar way. Of course, Windows is supposed to introduce consistency to the DOS-based world, but it's hard to get DOS software developers to agree on a common approach to interface design because these companies already have huge stakes in the interfaces they've already created, and because nobody has delivered clear leadership on interface design for Windows applications. So, it's not surprising to find confusing inconsistencies in Windows applications, even those made by Microsoft. Take something as simple as highlighting a word and deleting it. In Microsoft Excel 3.0, double-clicking on a word will highlight it, and hitting the backspace key deletes it. But in Microsoft Project 1.0, also for Windows, double-clicking on a word does nothing at all. And when we highlight the word manually and hit the backspace key, only the last letter is deleted. Which poses the question, if Microsoft doesn't make Windows applications consistent, who will? But the Macintosh environment creates more advantages than consistency alone. It also allows applications to use additional functionality that Apple builds into the Macintosh. That includes multitasking. So not only is it easy to open multiple applications at the same time and move data from one to another, we can also use background printing to print long documents without pausing in our work. Copy files to and from diskettes or file servers without tying up your computer. And download files via modem while we're busy with other projects. With virtual memory, many Macintosh users can treat available space on their hard disk as additional memory, so they can enjoy all the benefits of multitasking with even more applications open at the same time without the expense of adding RAM to their systems. And every Macintosh application can automatically take advantage of the new TrueType outline fonts, which give even inexpensive printers like the Apple Style Writer the ability to produce output that's close to typeset quality. And Apple has introduced a new feature to the Macintosh known as Publish and Subscribe. This feature allows us to copy and paste live information between different documents. So if we publish part of this Excel spreadsheet, then subscribe to it in a word processing document, we can revise our spreadsheet and our updates will appear in our word processing document automatically. What's more, the link will remain in place even if we move our spreadsheet to another folder or change its name. On a network, publish and subscribe becomes an even more useful tool because it lets us execute revisions and communicate our changes to other team members in a matter of seconds, so we can spend less time managing projects and more time getting them done. Windows offers a similar feature with its dynamic data exchange, which creates live links between documents. Unfortunately, only a limited number of Windows applications can support these links, and no DOS applications at all. And since the live links feature doesn't work across networks, it won't help people who need to work on collaborative projects. And if Windows ever does support hot links on a network, it will probably lead to additional frustrations. Because Windows manages links between applications the same way it manages everything else we've seen so far, with DOS paths and file names. So, if we decide to rename our spreadsheet in File Manager, perhaps to indicate that it's our latest version, the word processing document that links to it will no longer be able to find it. Can you imagine how frustrating problems like this would be in a workgroup setting? But the unique combination of power and ease of use in Macintosh means more than convenience. It also translates into superior performance. Several independent studies have shown that Macintosh programs generally run faster than their counterparts in Windows. And that superior speed is evident at every point in the Macintosh line. From the entry-level Classic, which finished a series of Ingram Laboratories benchmarks faster than 286 computers, to the Macintosh 2FX, which was faster than IBM and Compaq 486 computers. Here's the new Macintosh LC, Apple's lowest cost color computer, being compared with a much more expensive 386-based PC. Both are running the same Microsoft PowerPoint slideshow as fast as they can. And as you can see, when the LC has already finished, the 386 PC is only halfway through. Which just goes to show that clock speeds and MIPS aren't the only factors that determine how fast a computer can run. Conventional wisdom has long held that MS-DOS platforms offer the best connectivity, but reality indicates otherwise. Because industry experts say that Macintosh is actually the easiest personal computer to network. With a LocalTalk network port built into every Macintosh ever sold, with a native networking protocol, Appletalk, included in the Macintosh System software, and with networking applications that connect Macintosh with all the most widely used networking environments, including TCP/IP and OSI. But the important thing about networking in Macintosh is not just the connections we make, but the easy way we make those connections. For instance, in a small network, Macintosh users can share a laser printer simply by plugging their Macintosh computers together. There's no other hardware or software installation involved. In a larger business, Macintosh users can cut and paste information from other kinds of computers, even mainframes and mini-computers, in a completely Macintosh way. And with the new file sharing feature that now comes with every Macintosh, networking is even easier. File sharing allows individual Macintosh computers to share information with other computers without needing any additional software, network interface cards, or a dedicated file server. So we can specify the portions of our hard disk that we want to share, the entire disk or individual folders. And of course, we can use the built-in security features to prevent access to part or all of our disk. And remember, this power now comes with every Macintosh right out of the box. Any Macintosh can share files on the network, and any Macintosh can retrieve them. Now compare this simplicity with what we have to do to share files between Windows machines. First, we'll have to install network interface cards in every machine. Then we will either need to assign one computer as a dedicated file server and install network software on every client, or purchase third-party file server software for every machine on the network. Then, we'll have to run Windows Setup to load the appropriate driver. And the saga continues when it's time to expand the network, because with Windows, every new device has to be configured on the file server before users will even know that it's there. Whereas with Macintosh, Appletalk networking is so tightly integrated with the rest of the system that new resources become available as soon as they're plugged in. And since Appletalk supports both Ethernet and token ring cabling, we can increase transmission speed without sacrificing simplicity. Appletalk networks can communicate with other networks from other vendors, like IBM and Digital. What's more, the Macintosh connects to the standard server environments for Windows, Novell Netware and Microsoft LAN Manager. And while Windows makes networking easier than DOS, users may still get confused, because even though they work with icons in Program Manager, they still have to deal with a network that's organized according to the rules of DOS. Say, for instance, that a directory on the server contains the Excel application and our spreadsheet files. These icons in Program Manager represent our spreadsheet files on the server. When we double-click on the icon, Windows looks for Excel and launches our spreadsheet. But remember, Windows is based on DOS, so if the path name to this directory is changed, none of the spreadsheet icons will launch, which means that we'll have to find out the new path name for our spreadsheet file, enter that new path name for our icon, and then repeat this procedure for every Excel spreadsheet icon we have in Program Manager. Unfortunately, double-clicking still doesn't open the spreadsheets. We have to go to the File Manager and tell it the new path name to Excel by using the Associate command. And remember, every user on the network will have to go through all of these steps. So far, we've seen some of the advantages that set Macintosh computers apart. Now, let's look at what ties them all together. That's a track record of smooth, uninterrupted growth that includes the introduction of revolutionary new products like the LaserWriter, continuous enhancements like high-resolution color displays, and convenient multitasking. And since every Macintosh shares the same basic components and is based on the same unified design, they can all take advantage of these new innovations, which means the investment users made in a Macintosh 7 years ago is worth even more today. And since the most advanced Macintosh can still run applications created in 1984, the investment users made in information is safe as well. That kind of backward and forward compatibility simply isn't available in the DOS-based world, as the release of Windows 3.0 clearly shows. Numerous industry analysts say that Windows 3.0 requires at least an Intel 386SX processor to run acceptably. Therefore, about 85% of the PCs installed today won't run Windows with adequate performance. Many Intel-based machines will need substantial upgrades to take advantage of Windows, including accelerator boards, additional memory, a larger hard disk, a mouse, a VGA monitor, and new applications. That's an upgrade investment that PC Week magazine estimates at a suggested retail price between $2,500 and $3,700 per machine. And when users have completed the upgrade to Windows, they may have another upheaval to look forward to. This is because IBM says OS 2 is the operating system of the 90s, which faces today's PC users with a troubling dilemma. Should they commit to DOS, or Windows, or OS 2? And what happens if they guess wrong? Another myth that sprang up when Windows 3.0 was introduced was that Windows could deliver all the benefits of the Macintosh on a less expensive DOS-based machine. Now this is odd, considering the price of this Macintosh 2 CI is actually lower than this comparably equipped IBM Model 70. And it seems particularly strange given a recent article in Computer Reseller News which showed that Macintosh computers provide superior performance in graphics-based applications, at prices that are much lower than the cost of comparably equipped IBM or Compaq PCs. Of course, PC clone companies charge less for their machines than IBM and Compaq. But the cost savings of a PC clone also come with some risk, that the manufacturer will go out of business, that product support will be spotty, that there may be incompatibility and product quality problems. And the new, lower-priced Macintosh systems are competitive with clones configured to run Windows with acceptable performance. But much more important, the cost of buying a computer is not the same as the cost of owning it. When you factor in training time and other ownership expenses, independent researchers, like Gartner Group, say Macintosh is thousands of dollars less expensive to own than a PC running Windows 3.0. The Macintosh has lower support costs than the PC, and the Macintosh has much lower operations costs, which include the time users spend trying to learn new aspects of their applications as they work. These savings go straight to the bottom line in improved productivity. Because with Macintosh, you can spend more time getting your work done instead of figuring out how to get your computer to work. Whenever you're comparing Macintosh against PCs, it's important to remember that Apple designed Macintosh as a complete system, not a patchwork of separate components that were retrofitted together. Because Apple understands the importance of the graphical interface, every Macintosh comes bundled with a mouse and operating system. Whereas with most DOS machines, the interface and the mouse are add-ons. You have to buy them separately. Because Apple understands how important it is to share information, all Macintosh computers sold today come with Superdrive, a disk drive that can read and write to Macintosh, DOS, OS/2, and even Apple II disk. And with third-party products like Soft PC, Macintosh can run DOS and even Windows applications, so you can preserve your investment in software and information. Because Apple has foreseen the importance of sound in computing, every Macintosh comes with sophisticated sound hardware and software built in. So a Macintosh can do all this. That gives Macintosh users a jump on education.
And get Ronald back.
And now that the Macintosh 2SI and LC come with sound input capabilities built in, Macintosh users will have a jump on areas like voicemail too.
I know you're going to like the curve fit on this last set of data.
Because Apple understands the future of color in computing, Macintosh can display up to 16.8 million colors on screen without special software. Compare this with the majority of DOS machines, which still work with the VGA standard, which only offers 16 colors. Because Apple understands how important it is to put people in control of the computing environment, we developed Hypercard, the first application to give end users real programming power, and we ship it free with every Macintosh. As you can see, when you put Macintosh and Windows side by side, it doesn't take long to see the advantages of the Macintosh unified architecture. Greater ease of use, more consistent applications, built-in networking, and a smooth, uninterrupted growth path. But the real question is, what do these advantages mean? It's simple: more satisfied customers. That's what an independent research company, Diagnostic Research, found out when they interviewed MIS managers and Macintosh and Windows 3.0 users. Users rated Macintosh higher in ease of use. They also favored Macintosh for its performance as a business tool and for its ability to present ideas effectively. And when they were asked to recommend the purchase of a computer, users did what came naturally. They rated Macintosh higher again. MIS managers, meanwhile, also favored Macintosh in terms of ease of use. And they indicated that Macintosh training costs were lower as well, in dollars and in time. They also indicated that support time was more than 45% lower for Macintosh than for Windows. And when it came to overall satisfaction, both MIS managers and users indicated that Macintosh came out on top. That may be the most powerful Apple advantage of all, because satisfied customers are the most persuasive evidence we have of the real power of Macintosh.
This is a small company competing against some of the largest firms and companies in the world.
I don't think we would be able to manage if we didn't have the Macintosh computer.
I think it's increased our productivity a great deal. We can get a whole lot more work done with the Macintosh.
I have gone head-to-head with the biggest and the most powerful and the richest law firms and corporations in this country. And I've done it with the Macintosh. I take people's claims who could not get these corporate lawyers to represent them because they'd laugh at them for the smallness of their claims. And I take those people and I get those people justice. I knew when I had 6 files when I started my practice in 1985 that that wasn't going to be enough. I've gone from having 6 files and a secretary and me and 2 Macintoshes to having about 6,000 clients. I'm signing up more on a daily basis. I've got 15 or 20 Macintoshes. I've got 15 people working for me full-time. I've got another lawyer, and we're accomplishing more with 15 people than many firms could do with 100. There's 4 basic areas that every business does: accounting, marketing, communication, research. And all of those things are done on the Macintosh. And in our office, instead of having a secretarial staff who does nothing but secretarial work, or a word processing staff that does only word processing, people do word processing, do spreadsheet work, do accounting work, do manipulation of the database. I routinely manipulate, add to, take away from, correct or change the same information everybody else in the office does. And I need to be able to work with everybody else in the office as a team. System 7 allows me to do that. A lot of the benefits of System 7 are remarkably subtle but powerful. The fact that every machine turns into a file server is one of those ideas that starts out a little high and then skyrockets.
I can share files with other outlets on the system, and at the same time not all, in other words selectively share with just one person, say Jim, instead of everyone in the office being able to see the entire network. It makes you wonder how you got along without it.
I need to go in and look at some records that I asked Ellen to do this morning on a spreadsheet. I'll actually open up the files on her machine just as if it were another file server. And sure enough, she's got the expense reports there, and I'm now accessing the expense reports that she created that are actually on her hard disk. I've discovered since I had the opportunity to talk to her that I need to enter a change for the hotel bills. That's not really very hard to do. That change is now made on the document on her desk, so she knows what the correct accounting is. I know what the correct accounting is. We can limit access to who's looking at confidential information, and we can share it among ourselves. We've had Macintosh computers for 6 years now, and we found out very quickly we could do our own accounting faster, better, cheaper than anybody could outside, most of all because we're the people who have the need to have them done right. So we do it in-house. We do it on a Macintosh, and it's not a problem. I have been forced to keep track of more information than a single lawyer has kept probably before in our country's history. I need to keep track of thousands of homeowners. I need to keep track of their names and their addresses, facts about their case, what complaints they have, what their damages are, and how I get in touch with them when I need to take their deposition or when we need to go to trial. The Macintosh databases that are available allow me to do that. And now let me tell you what happens with System 7. With System 7, with the ability to link the information that's in the database directly to a word processing program, publish and subscribe, you're going to see a dramatic increase in the accuracy of data being entered. You're going to see a reduction in the time that it's entered, because right now people are typing it in accounting, they're typing it in a spreadsheet, then they're typing it in a database, then they're typing it in a word processor. With System 7, you're going to get greater accuracy, you're going to have decreased time in entering the data, you're going to have increased client satisfaction.
Ellen, here are the new expenses in the Schmidt case.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm opening the spreadsheet for the Schmidt expenses so that I can publish a chart into a word processing document. Publish and subscribe make my job easier by allowing automatic update of data and files, whether it's a word processing document or a spreadsheet. This is much better than copying and pasting since there are live links between our files. This way, I know that everyone in our office is working with the most recent information. So now, once I update my spreadsheet, it automatically updates my word processing document. This is going to save me a lot of time.
Everybody that runs a small business has the same needs that I do. They need the ability to communicate within their office and without their office. They need to be able to communicate with people with different machines, with different programs, with different operating systems. The thing about the Macintosh that I have been amazed by is that there is hidden power that is designed into the machine that you discover more and more and more. And I can tell you something, I can take Macintosh and run the world.
Got a real stumper of an Apple trivia question? We at the Apple User Group Connection would like to hear it. We'll select the best question, put it in our video, and give you the credit. If we use your trivia question in our video, we'll send you an Apple User Group Connection t-shirt. Send your Apple trivia questions to Apple User Group Connection Trivia, Apple Computer, 20525 Mariani Avenue, Mail Stop 36AA, Cupertino, California, 95014.
Hi, welcome to this edition of Apple's Seminar for One. I'm Russ Christoff, and today we'll be discussing the subject of personal computer connectivity into multi-vendor networking environments. We'll show you why we believe that Apple Macintosh is the best connected personal computer available today. First, we'll spend a few minutes discussing Apple's perspective and strategy on multi-vendor integration. We'll look at how Macintosh integrates major protocols and networking standards to deliver diverse network services into a consistent user environment. Then we'll visit with IS managers from around the country. You'll see how large organizations use Macintosh to connect and integrate multi-vendor networks to provide users with enhanced access to valuable data and applications. At Southern California Edison, one of the nation's largest utilities, we'll see how Macintosh takes advantage of network services delivered by Novell Netware. We'll also learn how Macintosh utilizes Token Ring and other links to bring host services to the desktop and to connect offices throughout their service area. Finally, with the broadening acceptance of TCP/IP networks, we'll visit the investment banking firm Hembrecht & Quist, where TCP-based applications turn each Macintosh into a stockbroker trading station. And at Scripps Medical Research Institute, we'll see how Macintosh integrates NFS, X-Windows, SMTP Mail, and other TCP network services. This seminar is about harnessing the power of information systems and networks to enhance the productivity of individuals and the overall effectiveness of your organization. And it's about the role that Apple Macintosh can play in achieving those objectives. So let's outline some basic requirements for an ideal personal computer in a multi-vendor network environment. First of all, networking should be an integral part of a personal computer's hardware and software architecture. When the personal computer is designed from the start with a modular architecture, you can easily extend the system to transparently support major multi-vendor networking standards like SNA, DECnet, and TCP. What's more, a flexible personal computer architecture allows you to deliver a broad range of network services in a uniform, cost-effective manner. So network functions feel like a natural extension of the user's own desktop computer system. And the users can learn to work with the network quickly and use data and services successfully. When personal computer networks are easy to set up and configure, life is easier for users, and for IS. Finally, an ideal personal computer for multi-vendor environments must provide a range of integration options. For example, in some situations, you might provide access to existing host applications using terminal emulation. For other applications, software front ends can simplify access to existing systems. And for new applications, you'll need tools to build distributed databases and other cooperative processing systems. Now, as you may have guessed, Macintosh satisfies these very important requirements for effective network computing. One reason is our basic design. Macintosh architecture easily fits into major environments. It adapts to changing standards and makes network resources as easy to use as local ones.
We've invested very, very heavily over the last 2 or 3 years in standards like TCP/IP-based networking. We're making a major investment with the Apple Digital relationship in DECnet, and with making Appletalk work with VAX VMS systems. We made a major investment in SNA connectivity to make the Macintosh work better with IBM host systems. The architecture of the Macintosh that we talk about on the operating system side is a 5-layer architecture, an architecture that includes a toolbox layer and a desktop layer that are higher levels than the typical operating system. A toolbox layer so that it's possible for software vendors to use a consistent set of tools to put networking capability into their applications, and then a desktop layer to make the user's experience of choosing a network, of configuring a network, of deciding which resources to share uniform and consistent. So the user sees all of those kinds of files in exactly the same way on their desktop. They choose them the same way, they work with them the same way, and for networking it provides a very uniform, smooth user experience. I can have up on my screen information that came from a VAX, information that came from a DB2 database on a mainframe, information that came locally from a word processing document on my machine, and I can use the cut and paste capabilities of the Macintosh to combine all of those in a spreadsheet, build a graph based on the results. I can do that kind of thing because the operating system, because the Macintosh itself, supports that. So the tools don't have to have been designed to work together in order for me to use them together very, very effectively. It's one of the advantages of the Mac experience.
The Appletalk network system extends this common user experience across a network. Let me take a moment to clarify some terms. Appletalk is a complete network system that includes a full set of services and protocols, as well as interface standards for presenting information about network resources to users. The Appletalk network system is an integral part of Macintosh System software. The speed of data moving through a network is determined by the physical medium, not by the Appletalk protocols. Appletalk operates over a variety of standard networks, including IBM-compatible Token Ring. On Ethernet, Appletalk runs at the full 10 megabits per second. It even runs across 100 megabit per second FDDI links. When running with LocalTalk, the convenient network hardware built into every Macintosh, Appletalk runs at about 230 kilobits per second. So to provide local wiring for a small workgroup that exchanges files and electronic mail, you can start with LocalTalk. Then, as your network increases in size or traffic, you have the option to switch to another network type. Upgrading a network is simply a matter of plugging in a connector or a card and selecting the new network type from a menu. And the result is absolutely consistent and transparent to your users. The only way they know that they've moved on to a faster network is that things get done more quickly. Macintosh networks are easy to set up and to upgrade because we build connectivity directly into the toolbox layer of the Macintosh architecture. That's where we provide support for diverse network types. The modular architecture of Macintosh allows us to incorporate new communication standards as they emerge, while protecting your investment in existing applications and end-user training. In many ways, connecting a new client to your network is a lot like hiring a new employee. When you bring someone into your work group, you expect them to fit into the office without disrupting people or systems. Above all, they've got to be productive and easy to manage. When you connect Macintosh to your existing local area network, you expect the same things. And that's the expectation that Apple's networking strategy is designed to fulfill. As we've seen, designed-in Appletalk makes networks easy to use and easy to install. It offers a simple way to scale up and extend networks, and it offers an efficient way to integrate with multi-vendor environments. One key part of Appletalk, Apple Filing Protocol, or AFP, provides a common standard for multi-vendor connectivity. Products such as Novell Netware, Digital Pathworks, and many others incorporate AFP. With AppleShare and other AFP-compliant servers, users access files across a network just as they would on a standalone Macintosh. And with optional software, DOS users can do the same. Macintosh integrates with all major LAN environments, including Novell, 3Com, and Banyan. Apple licenses Appletalk to other vendors as an open standard. For example, Farallon offers a series of products for integrating IBM-compatible PCs into an Appletalk network, and Novell has integrated Appletalk into NetWare. So Macintosh users can exchange files with DOS-based personal computers, take advantage of NetWare security and backup, and access VAX VMS files, all with the consistent Macintosh user interface. Users see files and directories stored on the NetWare server as standard Macintosh files and folders. Macintosh users also can access PC files, and DOS and OS/2 users can access Macintosh files. This enables PC and Macintosh users to work together more closely. Let me show you some of the ways that Appletalk can simplify managing and using a network. As each node becomes active, Appletalk assigns the user a network address automatically. Administrators can choose easy-to-remember device names, and they can logically group devices into zones to help everyone make sense of what's on a large internet. And with the Appletalk Internet Router, Appletalk makes optimal use of network resources. It sends routing information only when and where it's needed, making Macintosh work more efficiently than ever in multi-protocol environments. The bottom line is flexibility, to adapt and to enhance what's already in place. At Southern California Edison, the nation's second-largest utility, Macintosh integrates local area networks and mainframe resources.
As a company, we have nearly 17,000 employees, an asset base of over $15 billion, and annual revenues of roughly $6.5 billion. The information systems have to be designed to be cost competitive. And in fact, if they can help us become even more cost competitive by allowing a better exchange of information and a flattening of the organization, which we've seen in the last 5 years, this is an important step for us. When we started connecting Macintoshes together, whether through the mainframe or through local area networks, it became a much more valuable tool because now, besides simply allowing me to do my day-to-day business, it allows me to interact and communicate with other people within the company.
The Macintosh is a very good network device because of the built-in networking that it has. Because we started installing Macintoshes some years ago, before our token ring network was implemented here at Edison, we have a lot of devices that simply have a 3270 connection. We've got an infrastructure in place now with a fiber optic backbone running at 16 megabits in this campus area, but we predominantly use the token ring network. We do have some areas that use Ethernet for specialized functions in an engineering area and at some of our power plants. And we're able to connect Macintoshes and using the Internet router, get them from the Ethernet network into token ring if necessary. I think one of the real strong points of using the Mac on the token ring is that we're able to use the Internet router and bring in the whole range of network services as if they were directly token ring attached. And we have a lot of cases where both PCs and Macintoshes are coexisting on the same LAN and are able to get to common network services, such as our host gateway devices.
In our company, the Southern California Edison Company, token ring is a standard, and it's an IBM standard. But it just so happens that Macintosh connects to the standard very, very nicely. When the IBM environment was in this department, we've found that it took a force of people to try and just keep a network moving. We were sharing peripherals with the IBM system, and we were going on to some network environments, and the network would go down, and we need a specialist to come and try to rebuild the file server or retrain someone on how to use it. Well, there aren't enough people, there aren't enough time, there isn't enough money to support those kinds of network environments in this department.
I think the Macintosh really makes a good workstation on our network just because of the visual orientation. It's very easy to pull up the chooser and just see a list of all the zones and the different servers, and if you want to attach to one of them, you simply click on it and it shows up. There is some security involved, and you may have to supply a password, but it's visually oriented. It's very easy to select and mount servers. A lot of the networks at Edison are using Novell Netware as their operating system, and we have both PCs and Macintoshes tied into the Netware servers. That's worked out very well. We're able to use Novell's Netware server software to exchange files relatively easily. Netware supports both an IBM and a Macintosh client, and we simply mount the Novell server as we would mount an AppleShare server, and from the Macintosh just drag a file across and it copies it, and then people that are connected to the same server via token ring on the PC are able to pull it up right away. And the converse is true as well. I think it's because of Apple's open architecture that we have the confidence that it's going to play really in whatever arena that we're running a year, 2, 3 years out. And as we build our network infrastructure, I think the Macintosh will grow along with us.
As the uses of IBM and plug-compatible hosts evolve, we know one thing won't change. Today's networking architecture, SNA, will remain an important standard. The network client has to fit into that world and connect in the optimal way. And it must be ready for what we already know and anticipate about SAA. What's essential in connecting to IBM host environments is this: rich, cost-effective communication with mainframe and mid-range systems, and advanced connectivity for emerging cooperative applications. On the physical level, playing in IBM host environments means support for these standard connections. By now, you won't be surprised to know that Macintosh is compatible with all these protocols and links. More importantly, Macintosh can deliver high-performance sessions and file services and support cooperative applications at low cost and high efficiency. Macintosh architecture makes all this possible. Let's say the Macintosh user clicks on a Connect button in the desktop or presentation layer. That sends a request to the toolbox level, where we build in the protocols, architectures, and interfaces that link with SNA and SAA. The toolbox issues an open session call to the host. You can modify the call or make other changes on this layer without changing what the user sees in this layer. When it comes to networking Macintosh with Digital Equipment Corporation's VAX family, we're not only making connections, we're making history. In January 1988, Apple and Digital signed an historic joint development agreement. Since then, the two companies have worked together to build a complete client-server environment for the 1990s. Already, the Apple-Digital Alliance has produced a set of software packages that tightly integrate the Macintosh and Appletalk environment with the VAX family and DECnet OSI. These are available separately or integrated in a product called PathWorks for Macintosh, which is sold and supported by Digital. Doug Kane, an industry analyst with the respected Gartner Group, has watched developments at Digital for years.
Architecturally, the two companies also now are working very closely together to ensure that each of their base architectures on their mid-range and their desktop systems respectively have a high degree of commonality, a high degree of interoperability, and willingness to support each other. And both of those tend to mean that the sorts of solutions that are in place for a digital shop will be remarkably compatible with those in place and required for supporting large Macintosh networks. So if the VAX environment is the primary shared logic environment in a company, Macintosh will be a highly effective workstation in that regard. Digital, for example, does not have an OS/2 extended edition strategy. They do not have architectural influence on the IBM standard. Rather, they have to adapt their mid-range to whatever directions IBM and Microsoft set at the desktop. In the case of Apple, however, through the Apple Digital Joint Development Agreement and that relationship, they each have an opportunity to influence each other's architectures and to ensure that their architectures interoperate most effectively.
The new connectivity products from Apple and Digital build on the strengths of each user environment. Each client on a Macintosh digital network retains its own familiar style of computing, but all of them can access virtually any Macintosh and Digital VAX resource, and the combined network services are the richest in the industry. DECnet and Appletalk networks interoperate fully and seamlessly. Since both networks are media independent, they can share each other's wiring. You can run both protocols over Ethernet, local talk, or a combination, and through the serial port that is built into both Macintosh and Apple's LaserWriter printers, you can directly connect to a VAX or terminal server. When Macintosh users access a VAX share server, they view the directory in the familiar style of their graphical interface. VAX users can see files stored in a Macintosh Apple share server in the usual DEC format, and the same applies to PC users. Of course, system managers of both DECnet and Appletalk networks have all the benefits of VAX resident storage, data protection, and security. Clients on either network can share peripherals, such as VAX and Apple printers. All users can take advantage of electronic mail services, such as All-in-One Mail, an X400-compliant messaging system that links Macintosh, VMS, IBM Profs, and other users. And there's VMS Mail, which embraces Macintosh, VMS, and MS-DOS environments. There are several ways Macintosh users can access VAX applications. First, they can emulate a VT320 terminal. Their Macintosh can also function as a full DEC Windows and X Windows server. They can even use familiar Macintosh applications, such as spreadsheets, to access Digital's RDB and other VAX SQL databases, such as Oracle, Ingress, Sybase, or Informix. Apple's Data Access Language, or DAL, makes the queries and connections transparent. To provide enterprise-wide solutions today and tomorrow, Digital's PathWorks product supports all the functions we've just seen and more. It includes full support for VMS servers, software that gives Macintosh the functions of a DECnet end node, connectivity software, and development tools. In coming years, most of us expect to see common communication standards play a bigger role in IS. Apple already supports emerging standards, and we're working internationally to develop new ones. Today, many enterprises have adopted a popular open system for multi-vendor networking, TCP/IP. Macintosh fully integrates with TCP/IP environments. Thanks to products from Apple and third parties, Macintosh has kept pace with the fast growth of TCP/IP networks. Connecting Macintosh to TCP/IP is straightforward. Snap in an Ethernet card, load TCP/IP software for Macintosh, and you're connected. And what are you connected to? A complete array of network services, everything from accessing Unix server files to support for Unix and Internet mail. And of course, TCP/IP services fully integrate with the Macintosh environment. You can cut and paste between applications running under TCP and local Macintosh applications. And everyone benefits from the intuitive, consistent Macintosh approach to TCP/IP networking. At the investment banking firm of Hembrecht & Quist, brokers use Macintosh to watch market moves over a TCP/IP network.
In our particular industry, the need for information flow and having that information immediately is the most important element in success. There's absolutely no complication with getting any of that information. I don't know what software interface with the hardware does, nor do I need to know. I'm just happy to be able to use the mouse and use a few keystrokes to access the information that I need throughout the day. I have various screens that access information on the market or portfolios, and I'm able to use that information interactively with our Telnet server. What you're seeing right now is a specific portfolio that has to do with a selected stock list for Hambrecht & Quist. Another feature and function that I use in particular is the Telnet news service, where I can paste information that comes across the Dow Jones Newswire directly onto a spreadsheet or a word processing document and fax that immediately, or print it up and send it to a different part of the office or to a client if need be.
With our environment where the market is moving and can be moving very quickly, and people can have money at risk and can lose money if the wrong decision is made, it's very critical that the system always be there and always be right. Hambrecht & Quist originally had Quotron, which is a system for monitoring the market that's based on terminals. And we wanted to replace the Quotron system in order to attain cost savings, in order to increase our flexibility, and in order to give the brokers productivity so that they could do other things besides just follow the market. The reason why we went with TCP/IP and Ethernet is that with the Ethernet, there's a lot of choices for hardware, and with the TCP/IP protocols, there are a lot of different choices for software. We have a Unix-based MIPS RISC computer that is our server, and so the server manages the communications lines coming in from the outside world, builds a database, does any protocol management or session management that's needed, and that is attached to our Ethernet backbone. And then we have, out across the Ethernet, we use TCP/IP to connect up all the Macintoshes. The Macintosh is an ideal client on our TCP/IP network because it's so easy to configure. You just plug it in and away you go. We've done all the wiring for every place there could ever be a network in advance, and then you do the Mac TCP configuration, which might take you anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes maximum, and you're up and running. All you have to do is pull down your control panel and access the Mac TCP configuration dialog and make your selections, and it's all right in front of you, and if you make a mistake or forget something, you'll be told immediately and you can correct that. A problem for our users in using a Unix machine is it is expensive. It's more expensive than a Macintosh, and with a Macintosh you can get the same amount of performance as you would with a Unix workstation for these kind of applications that you need to do. And there isn't the availability of software with a Unix system for doing, personal productivity things. The Macintosh has every bit as much computing capability as any MS-DOS or OS/2 machine. And in fact, I think at this point in time it's now cheaper in terms of the amount of memory that you need to run applications versus what you might need on OS/2. It's a very cost-effective solution and has every bit the amount of power that you would need.
We hardly ever get questions about the network that would require my support. I mean, the users themselves really don't know that it exists. They're not aware of IP addresses or anything that's in the control panel. It's something that they use, they get the information, and they're really happy with it. Since I don't have to spend so much time troubleshooting the network itself, and since it is such a good support for me, it enables me to educate the users and really show them how they can use the Mac to get a product.
With Macintosh on TCP networks, you can make more cost-effective use of workstations and host resources. Let's see what that means at Scripps Research Institute, where medical scientists access TCP networks around the world.
Scripps Research Institute is a large biomedical institution devoted to understanding diseases and how to help people not have diseases. My department is called neuropharmacology, which simply stated means how drugs act on the cells of the brain. The brain, of course, is the global network to beat them all. It's all connections there. And when we share our brains, when we share our brain power through the computer data access, that gives us a way to really use our smarts in a much more synergistic way. I don't have a lot of questions that demand the use of a Sun workstation or to take time off of the Cray. I need to be able to use them when I need access to them, and having the network makes it possible to do that.
But you can't have a large computer in every part of the laboratory. Instead, we have Macintoshes on desktops and on bench tops to connect into the larger machines. We can put all of the computers, almost like virtual terminals, onto the Macintosh desktop. We can have a Sun in one window. We can have the Cray in another window. Unix machines aren't simple and easy to use. The Macintosh is intuitive. That's how it was designed. It has a desktop that looks like your desk. Every Macintosh machine can use the TCP/IP services, from the Classic up to the Macintosh 2FX. The three ways that we do it are through Telnet login services directly into a Unix host. The second way is through FTP file transfers from one machine to another. The third way is through mail services from the Macintosh to any other computer in the world. A lot of the data that other people use on other machines are stored under NFS. We can use the Macintosh computer to mount any NFS volume located on any computer on the network. If I'm mounting an NFS server located on a Sun machine in another building to this desktop, it appears as an icon right here, looks just like a disk. If I double click on that, I can open it up, and all of the files that are there appear as Macintosh icons, which can then automatically launch Macintosh programs, even though they're stored on a foreign operating system. Macintosh users can log into a mail host, such as one of our Unix machines. If they don't like that, they can use the Macintosh way, which is through QuickMail. We use QuickMail to connect to SMTP mail. A user simply has to type in his password, and he can read mail that's coming in from anywhere else on the internet to his machine. A lot of the data that we use in neuroanatomy here are stored in the form of images on other machines. We want to visualize that data and to be able to run programs that can analyze it. In order to do that, we then run a program on the Macintosh called MacX. You don't need to buy expensive X window terminals and workstations to look at the data that's stored on your X servers. All you have to do is buy a program and run it on your Macintosh. We have PCs here too, but 9 out of 10 scientists just won't use them. They refuse to use them. Macintosh is the machine of choice, and it's chosen for everything.
As we've seen, Macintosh is straightforward to use and to set up, and the customary TCP/IP solutions are integrated in the Macintosh user interface.
CSX is an $8 billion transportation company with 3 principal business units. We're heavily into transportation in all forms. We run 24 hours a day. Our transportation network runs 24 hours a day. Our reach extends globally. During the 1980s, we spent a lot of time putting together large mainframe systems, but we needed a lot more. That's why we were excited about the Macintosh and the natural networking capabilities. We literally can't afford to do things twice. We can afford to add functionality to our products or maybe integrate something new, but we can't afford, in fact our end users won't allow us to go back and redo something. So we wanted to make sure as we moved into System 7 that it was a net improvement and we didn't waste any time having to redo things. One of our initial concerns was that we'd have to add more memory, that we'd have to go back and retrain the users, that it would be more than simply installing the new release of the operating system. We literally are going so fast with new development and installing new applications, we can't afford to obsolete anything that's out on the desktop today. When I talk to people about Macintosh, I normally talk about our custom development. I usually forget about all the good things we do with it on the administrative side.
I was a little concerned that some of the applications I had been running on System 6 would not run on System 7,
but I've been working with it for a while now and have not found any problems with any of the old applications. I can still run them on System 7. I like the look and feel of System 7. It's a very slick interface. It's more Mac-like, I think, than the old system. I was really impressed with the Publish and Subscribe. I feel that's really going to be a big help in a large corporation like this. We do a large number of monthly and quarterly reports. Bits and pieces of those reports come from all over the development area. In the past, I had to manipulate those reports individually every time somebody gave me an update. But now with System 7 and the Publish and Subscribe features, the reports are always out there, constantly updated for me.
We started to recognize some immediate benefits from System 7, although I've still got some of the application developers on System 6. I'm able to set up work groups on my machine and allow them access to my machine as a server. That's going to get us out of the passing of paper and the sneaker net of having to pass disks back and forth between the various workstations.
You think your
we'll take this application, for instance.
The development team uses Macintosh really in a couple of forms.
With other projects that have form.
We've got all our developers linked together with the Macintosh today. And we find really our best work starts with one individual who quickly puts something together. And then the other people on the team join in and they're able to author. We think the Macintosh is perfect for this kind of multi-author environment.
Well, System 7 is going to make our job as developers a lot easier. If you're developing a specific application for someone, you try to make it modular in pieces so that you can reuse those pieces without having to recode the same thing for another application. So System 7 will let us create, if you will, a library of small applications that we can mix and match like Lego blocks. So if one person needs a specific feature that's in a module, we can just plug it in without having to recode it for the new application. Well, we use file sharing to share the code modules that make up the small application pieces. Say two programmers are sharing the same code file. One programmer can go in, make his change, save it onto the shared volume. The next programmer can come right in behind him, look at his change, and make his. All at the same time. They don't have to copy the file to each individual Mac and then worry about overlaying each other's changes.
We've been running all sorts of different applications, and there really hasn't been a compatibility issue. I was amazed to find so many of our third-party applications working with System 7, even though they were developed for System 6.
System 7 with IEC will allow us to extend our object-oriented principles out into the system, whereas now we have applications with objects inside individual applications. System 7 lets us take that object principle out. Now we have applications that work together cooperatively, sending and receiving messages, not just inside the application, but now between applications.
It's much quicker to develop on the Macintosh than it is we found on any other platform.
So it'll make our job a lot easier, help us get our product out to the customer faster, but with the high level of quality that we want to give.
Our experience with System 7 has been a real delight. All those things we were afraid of haven't materialized. In fact, we think the new operating system features are going to make it even easier to get more people on the Macintosh.
Installing System 7 is going to be a very easy process if everyone can just go to their file server and double-click on the install button. It's that easy to implement the new system.
The learning curve is basically flat.
System 7 gives us some capabilities that we never had before, like the IEC capability just isn't there. If you want it, you have to basically write it yourself. So System 7 is providing that for us.
And we think that inter-application communication is going to make it even easier for us in the future to combine third-party software with our own in-house development. We've got to be able to move more quickly in the future with information technology, and I think System 7 is really going to enable that for us.